Morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Friday morning. Hope everyone is doing well. I want to apologize for yesterday. We did have some technical difficulties, so we were not able to have the webinar. But I do hope if you are in the Telegram channel, you did manage to end up getting the watch list from there. So, sorry, apologies for starting a few minutes late. So let's just jump straight into it. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaro, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as a Forex team, early in the morning, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So, as usual, I am here with the Forex team. So, John is in the back office here to assist with whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. But remember, I will also be addressing all those questions at the end of the webinar. So if you are watching it on any of our social media platforms, we do want to be able to ask us whatever questions, please do join us on Zoom. So let's jump straight into it, and let's start by sharing my screen. So I hope everyone can see my screen. As we will start off with our watch list. So apologies, there was a number of fundamentals today, as you can see at 9 o'clock, which we did need to adjust the watch list a bit. However, in terms of our watch list for today, this is it. So we're going to be focusing on looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar, as well as the Japanese yen pairs. And we're going to mix and match that with all the pairs on the sell side. So that's every other pair. That's the Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the euro, as well as the British pound. Now, if you have noticed, you can see we do have a number more of fundamentals coming out later on today. We have some Swiss franc fundamentals, some euro fundamentals as well. So do make sure those are the main two ones that are coming out. But in fact, it's actually mainly the Swiss franc. These euros are just speeches, so it's not necessarily going to bring in much. So it's the Swiss franc and the British pound where you could find some changes. So if there are any changes, we'll end up letting you know on the Telegram channel. But for now, this is going to be our watch list. So since unfortunately we did not have yesterday's webinar, we will end up having a look at a few screenshots first before we do jump on to today's pairs. So looking at the screenshots, we'll start off here with Andre. Andre, you did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Very nice buy right there, multiple buys. You can see the price already coming up in your favor. So very, very good job on this trade. You know, you had to move your stop loss up, but you did end up making sure you took advantage of this currency pair. Because if you go to the next screenshot, you did also manage to grab the selling opportunity as well. So you did both grab the buy and the sell. In this situation, you can see your stop loss has already been moved below the entry. So very, very good job on this trade, Andre. And thank you for sending in your screenshots and keep up the good work that you're doing as well. So also next, we get Faith K. You did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. I know the trade did not work out as well for you, because I know you did mention that this was how the trade was working and was in your favor. Now, if you do realize, we do end up having some sort of support and resistance area right there. You can consider that this is actually just a probe, and possibly the true highest point was actually within this particular area. And if you did not necessarily manage your trade, you could end up getting some issues right there. Because when we end up looking at the next screenshot that you did manage to send in to us, what would be this? So when you look at the next screenshot that you managed to send in to us, we see that the price really came down, possibly some fundamental news stopped you out before the market continued. So this happens sometimes, and that's the reason why we also encourage, once a trade is already going in your favor, do some sort of trade management, either closing some of your position so that even if the price came down to stop you out, you'd have at least come up with something, or that loss would have been drastically reduced. Alternatively, if you had moved your stop loss up to break even, if this ended up happening, at least you would not have actually ended up taking a loss. That's why we always encourage within the screenshots that you guys send, if you end up taking a trade and the trade is working out in your favor, please try and move your stop loss above, or at least towards break even, or do some sort of trade management, because the markets never just always go in a straight line. There's a series of higher highs and higher lows. So you do need to make sure that you're securing as much money as possible as well. But thank you so much, Faith, for sending in this screenshot, and we do hope to see more coming from you as well. So also next, we did get George. George, you did grab a buying opportunity on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Very nice buy right there. You can see the price coming up in your favor. You did end up closing your trade within the seller's area. So very, very good job. there's never always a guarantee that the market is actually going to break. So you can end up either closing the whole position or closing majority of it and moving your stop loss up. So just in case if you find that you end up exiting your trade and the trades continue going, maybe close 80% or 90%. So if the trade continues going, you're still in on the trade and you will not necessarily feel bad. But if it does come down, at least you've secured most of your trade within that problem area. But very good job on this trade, George. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Also, we did get a screenshot from Steve. Steve Canals. You did manage to grab a selling opportunity on gold. I guess this was a counter. You can see the market coming down already in your favor, and I'm already happy to see that your stop loss is already below your entry. So very good job on this. So if it does end up pulling back, at least you're still going to come out with some money. So good job on this trade, Steve, and keep sending in your screenshots as well. So also next, we did get another screenshot from Figure Maura. You did manage to grab a buying opportunity. Unfortunately, do not know what currency pair this is. So do make sure that the next trade that you do end up sending, please make sure that we can also see what currency pair it is so that we can end up giving you more information. But happy to see already here, you did grab that buying opportunity. You can see the price is already up in your favor. Now, where you put your stop loss is quite risky because remember, in terms of how the market moves, the higher highs and higher lows, you might find that within this support and resistance area that was broken, you could find the price just pulling back there, then continuing. So do make sure if you are going to move your stop loss, hide it behind specific buyers. So you can see the way the buyers, there were 3 buyers here who pushed it up. There are another set of buyers right here who managed to push it up. So if you did end up having your stop loss below this area, that would have been an actually much safer place and you're giving your trade space at least to move. But either way, very good job on this trade figure. And keep up the good work as well that you are doing. So that's it for all the screenshots that we did manage to get. I want to thank you all so much for everyone who did manage to send them in to us. Really do appreciate it and hope you guys are learning a lot as well from these screenshots as well. So if you do manage to take any setups based on things we do end up sharing today, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pair. So right now we're going to focus on the Australian dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side. Do the same thing with the Japanese yen before we do have a look at the indices of the Nasdaq, the US 30, as well as gold and silver. So jumping straight into it, we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see the market has been going through the upside, but right now it seems as if it's struggling to go up higher. That means that we possibly need a pullback, which is what we're seeing right now. So overall, we're definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. We'll be focusing on these 3 areas. We have the seller's area at the top, so we don't want to buy anywhere close to that area. The fact that the price is coming back down to a buyer's area, which is a good sign for us. So hopefully we can end up seeing some sort of probe or price action signal within this area. If we do not, and the price comes down lower, there's a possibility that the price can come all the way back down to the main buyer's area, and we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But for now, let's see how the market ends up reacting within this first problem area. And remember, watch out for the market opening times, 10, 3, and 4:30. We could end up finding some movements here. But also be aware, since we are dealing here with the Swiss franc, remember we do have some Swiss franc fundamentals in 42 minutes or so. So we might find that that actually is the catalyst to actually push the market, or it could end up actually changing things. So wait to see what happens, but do also keep an eye out on that specific time, as you could find some nice buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So I hope that's clear. It's pretty clear cut. The market is pulling back. Let's wait for the slowdown before we're able to look for those buys. Now, moving on to the next Australian dollar pair where we are going to be looking for buying opportunities. We do have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this kind of pair, we are going to be looking for buys, and you can see the similar correlation with the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. Price has approached an area where they're sellers. You can see this area right here at the top. It's an area where the price has touched it multiple times. So hopefully we'll end up seeing one of 2 things. Either we can end up getting a deeper pullback, coming back all the way to this particular support and resistance area for us to look for buying opportunities. But be aware that we will be looking for buys as long as we're holding above the red support and resistance area. Now, one thing to take note of is also how the market will actually end up reacting. Because you can see within this area, the last time the market pushed it, it came all the way down to this area. You can see the next time the market pushed, it came down just to here. So we need to also see if this market cannot even make a new low, or at least in comparison to the record, where you find it actually turning from a higher point, what you might actually end up finding is that this seller's area might not actually be strong enough. And if the price breaks that area to the upside, you see the price holding above, then you could end up finding a nice buying opportunity there. But we'll wait to see what happens, either waiting for a deeper pullback or looking for the buys. But remember, we always say buy with buyers, sell with sellers. So even though we do have this particular area, we can see this is definitely an area where buyers have reacted from before. So you do also need to watch out for such a location. You might find the prices bouncing here, going to the upside, breaking above, and continuing to go up. But remember, there is going to be some correlation coming in with the Australian dollar pairs. So when you see one reacting, possibly have a look at the other ones to possibly try and confirm whether or not the signal that you're seeing is actually correct. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair. Here we do have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Here we're going to be looking for buying opportunities, and you can see the story is pretty much similar with the other pairs as well. But within an area where they're sellers, what we want to see is either a pullback coming down lower within this particular support and resistance area, the area where buyers have reacted from before. Take note of these small areas as well, because you might find that you can see this location where buyers pushed up, and we can be able to identify such an area. You can see on all these other pairs, Australian dollar against Canadian dollar, similar situation, although in this one, the buys have actually come down low. So just watch out for that. You find the prices within those buyers areas, and you start seeing some sort of reaction, you might actually end up finding some buying opportunities available. So on this kind of spell, we'll wait and see. Right now, you can see the price looked as if it was breaking to the upside. It's actually come back in, showing confirmation that the price is holding below. So we can end up getting a much deeper pullback, because remember, we don't necessarily want to buy at such a high price. Our objective is to try and look to see if we can buy low and sell high. So let's wait and see what happens as the pullback comes in on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now, one thing also remember, today being the first Friday of the month, we do have the non-farm payroll. So that's also something you guys need to be careful about. You can see some US dollar news. So hardly any news during London, but during the US, we have some high impact news. So this is definitely news that's going to end up affecting nearly all currency pairs. So if you are in on any trade before this, do make sure you have managed your trade. Either close some of your position, move your stop losses, because these markets will end up spiking, going crazy at that point in time. So do make sure you manage your trades then. But since this is the Australian dollar against the US dollar, you might find that maybe during the London session, there's not much, but you could find that during the US session, we will end up seeing a bit of fireworks in the charts. So let's move on to the next currency pair we do have, the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Now, in this currency pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see the price seems to have been in a range within this particular areas, the bottom of the range being here and the top of the range right here. Now, we can identify that the fact that the price broke this area to the upside, you can see it confirmed that the level was actually holding above. And usually it's an actual good sign for us to actually look for buys after a range. So let's say, for example, the same way this market has been ranging, once the prices break to the upside, there's a high probability of coming back to the same support and resistance area. So even though this price looks as if it had already tested it here, I think on a higher time frame, it doesn't necessarily look like that. And there's still that possibility that we might find the price still pulling back towards the support and resistance area before we do find the prices continuing to go to the upside. So we'll wait and see what happens. Remember, use the same correlation. Since we're dealing here with the Australian dollar pairs, you can see all of them moved up, and they do seem as if they're attempting to give us a pullback from a seller's area. So once the prices are at a buyer's area, we could potentially find some nice buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So hope that's clear cut as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair. Here we have the euro against the Australian dollar. Remember now in this situation, the Australian dollar is the counter currency. So rather than looking for buying opportunities on all the other ones, the same way we were looking at it, this pair will actually be looking for sells. So based on those, at least us looking for selling opportunities, we have identified these three areas. So you can see right now, the market seems to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels right here. So overall, we definitely want to see if we can end up grabbing a selling opportunity at the top of the range. But be aware, within ranges like to spike a lot. So you might end up finding that the price looks as if it's breaking this area to the upside, but you'll find it coming back in and holding inside, and you could end up finding a nice selling opportunity there. But if the price is able to break this area to the upside and you see that actually holding above, let's see if we can end up getting the price coming back all the way to the main sellers, because there's still a possibility that the price can pull back there, incite many people who are actually still thinking that it's a sell. They end up switching into buyers, and that's when you might find now the sells really coming in. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. We'll use some similar correlation, but in this situation, let's see how even the market reacts here. Because you can even see right now, it has done something similar where it looks as if it broke, it's come back in, it's approved, and right now as it's pulled back, if we're getting confirmation that price is actually holding below, we might actually be able to find a nice selling opportunity, but we need to see that confirmation coming in as well. So we'll wait to see what happens on the euro against the Australian dollar. If we move on to the last Australian dollar pair, you can see similar correlation with the euro against the Australian dollar and the British pound against the Australian dollar. In this kind of pair, we are going to be looking for selling opportunities. Similar situation with the Australian dollar being the counter currency. And we do see as if this market seems to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. And you can see the same thing with the euro against the Australian dollar. We're bounced within that seller's AM and we're back within this location. So one thing you need to be careful about is look at how aggressive these buyers are pushing up. We don't necessarily want to see strong buyers coming in. Let's hope we can end up seeing these buyers actually really slowing down within this particular area for us to potentially find a nice selling opportunity, making sure to manage our trade within this buyer's area. But if the price breaks this area to the upside and holds above, we'll be looking to see if we can grab our selling opportunities all the way within the seller's area here at the top. So I hope that's clear. We'll wait and see what ends up happening with these Australian dollar pairs. You can see we'll mix and match the Australian dollar pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to do the same thing with the Japanese yen pairs before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So starting off with the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, the Japanese yen pairs did end up coming in with a bit of positive news. Yes, positive news earlier in the morning. I know it doesn't necessarily look like that, but the Japanese yen is definitely showing a strength. So, and you can see it on the charts, the way the prices have come down. Was a pullback today during the Asian session. You can see the way the markets have come down. Now, the yens, there is some caution with them based on the fact that the yens have been showing us a lot of weakness for a very long time. And we will be able to see, I think, if we go even to the 1 hour time frame quickly, we can see how much this market has been showing us a lot of weaknesses. It's been going higher and higher and higher. Right now, the way the fact that the fundamentals have come in, that doesn't mean that right now this market is going to now continue going all the way down lower. What this means possibly is that this could be just be a pullback for the bigger time frame. Then you might find the buyers coming in much later. So do trade with caution, and that's the reason why we'll focus on these three levels. You can see the price has come down, bounced in a buyer's area. But look at the way the buyers reacted from the last time. They came up very aggressive. But if you compare how the sellers came down and the buyers, this is what we like to see. We want to see the sellers come down aggressive and the buyers come up quite slowly, because this is something that we can read. And if we do see some sort of slowdown within this particular area, we could end up finding a nice selling opportunity within that location. But remember, this being the Swiss franc against the yen, so if the price breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area, where the main seller started pushing down today, then that means that this pair will fall off our watch list and will no longer be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So let's wait to see what happens with this pullback is coming in, but definitely looking nice for a selling opportunity. Now, the next yen pair we do have is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. You can see the similar correlation. One thing you should know is that the yen pairs are like being correlated quite a bit. So overall, you can see during the Asian session, the way the market came down, we did break a major support and resistance area, and we did find another support area all the way at the bottom. So overall, since we're going to be looking for selling opportunities, right now we're close towards this buyer's area. It's not a good location, so we'll wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. You can see we just broke this major support and resistance area. Since that's the case, hopefully we can end up getting the price giving us a pullback within this area before we're able to look for selling opportunities. But be aware, as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is still going to be looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the yen. The main thing we just need right now is to see that pullback coming in, or if the price is not able to give us that pullback and we see the price breaking this area to the downside, one thing we need to see is if we can get that pullback coming in, confirming that the price is holding below, then we should be able to look for a selling opportunity within that particular location. So we see what ends up happening, but definitely the sells are on the Canadian dollar against the yen. Now, moving on to the next Japanese yen pair, we do have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. And you can see the same correlation coming in with all of them. I think I might sound like a broken record because it's like I'm repeating the exact same thing. But you can see during the Asian session, the yen strength that did come in, we did end up breaking a major support area right there. So the fact that we've broken that location, ideally what we want to see is if we can end up getting a pullback to that location, giving us some sort of global price action signal for us to look for selling opportunities. But we know that as long as we break above this red support and resistance area, since this is the main area where the sellers push down from during the Asian session, if the price breaks above, that means that those main sells that were coming in were not actually real, or there was not enough money in there and people would still be looking for buys. That's why as long as we're holding below the red SNR, our buyers is definitely still going to be looking for those selling opportunities. So wait to see what happens. If we do find the price is breaking this area to the downside and holding below, we'll be able to look for sales. But remember, if you see one opportunity on one of the yen pairs, you can be able to possibly have a look at the other ones to maybe find a nice trading opportunity then as well. Now, moving on to the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Here, we're going to be looking for selling opportunities, but you can't see exactly where we are. We're within a buyer's area, so no selling opportunity just yet. You can see we did break the support and resistance area, so hopefully we can end up getting that pullback within this SNR to end up actually looking for those sells. But we do know as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, definitely our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunity. I think if we do end up going to a larger time frame, I think most of you who have done our education, or at least even the one-on-one mentorship, will know that there's a possibility. You can see the price did end up going up, struggling before the sellers have come down. Definitely showing signs of strong sellers, but we need to be aware of, look at the area where we're at. The last time the price was here, look at that kind of reaction. So the main thing we want to see is these buyers actually coming in, potentially slowing down within this area, but be aware that the price can still pull back all the way to this main location where the main sellers did start, and that's when you could end up finding the price coming down. One thing that will give you confirmation is watch the momentum of the buyers, then compare it with how it came up before. If you find it slower, then definitely a good sign to be able to look for selling opportunities. If not, then it comes up aggressive, then you do need to end up trading this pair with caution. But overall, we're definitely still going to be looking for those sells. Remember, if the price breaks and falls below this yellow support and resistance area, then we'll continue looking for selling opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope that is clear on the game plan of what we're looking at doing on the New Zealand dollar against the yen. As we move on to the next currency pair here, which we do have, which is the euro against the Japanese yen. And you can see the same correlation. All the yen pairs came down quite aggressive. All of them broke some major support and resistance area, and all of them seem to have been bouncing, or at least attempting to bounce off a particular buyer's area. So right now, we want to see those pullbacks coming in, definitely within one of these locations. So you can see the reason why we mentioned that the yen pairs are pretty much correlated, because it's like looking at the exact same chart. But overall, we're still going to be looking for those sells. Let's see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in within this SNR right here. But be aware, if this level doesn't hold, we'll be looking for our selling opportunities higher up. If this price breaks this area to the upside, then the probability of that sell working out really goes down, and that's why it will fall off our watches. But for now, definitely the way the buyers are coming in is slow, which is a good sign for us. We just need to figure out when the big boy sellers, the same sellers who are pushing down, at what point in time will they be interested? If you compare how these sellers came down here and how they're pushing down here, these are not the sellers. So we want to see at what point in time when the price gets to a particular area where you end up seeing these sellers showing up, then you might find that nice selling opportunity then. But remember, watch out for the market opening times. That's 10, 3, and 4:30 to potentially give you some nice selling opportunities on the euro against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the last currency pair we do have. So this is the British pound against the Japanese yen. And you can see the same correlation coming in with all these pairs. The main sellers who pushed down right here during the Asian session right there. So as long as right now we're holding below that area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunity. You can see a support and resistance area here where the price bounced up. Once the price has been able to break this area, you can see the way it broke it with a lot of strength. So that's a good sign, giving us a bit of confirmation that that level might have been broken, especially even the way the buyers are coming in. So this is a good indication for us to look for sales, but we need to wait for when these buyers are actually going to slow down. So one other clue that you can end up using, remember, we mainly also focus on multiple time frames. So you can be able to see more detail on a smaller time frame, like the 3 minute. So you can see the way the sellers came down and compare how the buyers are coming in. So wait to see at what point in time are the buyers actually going to slow down and the sellers going to come in. Once we do end up seeing that, then we should be able to look for those sells on the British pound against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear for all the current pairs. I know we seem to have gone quickly today because one, there was not necessarily any review of pairs, and two, the fact that these yen pairs, or at least most of these pairs, are quite correlated. So the story ends up just basically being the same. But overall, we'll wait and see what ends up happening. So since we're done with all the current pairs, as you can see, we've mixed and matched the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So today and yesterday, ideally, we were looking for buying opportunities. You can see the areas that we had pointed out. Yesterday, hardly anything happened, but it seems right now we do seem to be attempting to break this area to the upside. So overall, we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities based on these three areas. But if you do realize, since we're right now, we're attempting to break this area to the upside, going to the upside right here. And this is a major support and resistance area. Right now, it's showing us confirmation that the big boys are definitely interested in this. So the main thing we want to see is if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. Hopefully, it ends up finding the price within this particular buyer's area, hopefully at around 3 o'clock or at 4:30. And we could end up looking for a buying opportunity then. But remember, since we're dealing with the non-farm payroll today, you end up making sure you're trading with caution, or make sure you end up actually reducing your risk today if you're actually going to decide to trade the non-farm payroll. Since the markets move a lot, if you do end up, at least the trades go in your direction, you'll at least still make a good amount of money. If they go against you, at least it will not end up affecting you on Monday when you come back. Because remember, risk management is a key thing. If you end up over-risking and you lose all your money and your capital, then there's nothing you can do in the market. It's basically your lifeline, so you need to protect it as much as possible. That's why we always encourage trade with a stop loss and make sure you always manage your risk. So overall, let's wait and see what happens. Right now, there's nothing much we can do apart from waiting for that pullback within this particular problem area for us to potentially look for those buys. So hope that's clear on the NAS 100 as we go on to the Dow Jones with the US 30. Now, we have switched directions on this kind of pair. So right now, before initially we're looking for selling opportunities, but today we're going to definitely be looking for buys. So we have identified these three main areas. You can see there's a seller's area right there at the top where the market has held. Even you can see a probe right there. So we need to end up watching out for that particular location. Now we have identified this is the main buyer's area here, but you can see this is where the buyers pushed up, and it's also a major support and resistance area based on a higher time frame. And we do know as long as we're holding above this red SNR, overall, we will still be looking for buys. If the price breaks and falls below the red SNR, that's when we'll actually switch and start looking for selling opportunities on the Dow Jones. But since we're going to be looking for buys and we have these particular areas, you can see right now we're in the middle of this two particular location. Now, if you be aware, we're always trying to look to see if we can grab buying opportunities where buyers are. So even though we have our support and resistance area right here, our area of interest, be aware that there's still some area where buyers have reacted. You can see this is a support and resistance area where buyers have reacted. Even though it came down and has broken, you can still see it has reacted multiple times. So even though we are looking for a buying opportunity here, if you do find the price approaching this particular area right here, and you find it within this particular location at those specific times that we mentioned, remember 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 4:30 p.m., you might be able to find a buying opportunity. But overall, if they've not been able to actually go up higher from this, that's the reason why we think that the price might actually end up giving us a deeper pullback, coming back to this main buyer area before we do maybe see the price giving us some sort of buyer's reaction for us to potentially look for those buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. But let's wait and see what happens. As you can see, with the NAS 100 actually breaking to the upside, we might actually end up finding that this might actually end up doing the same, where you could end up finding the price actually breaking this area to the upside. And if we see the price holding above, not like this, then we can end up looking for buying opportunities. And you can't even see, even though the buyers came up, look at the sellers' reaction. That's why we always say we want to see the sellers coming down a bit slowly once that level has been broken. You can even see, based on my illustration here, big move to the upside, but we want to see a slowdown, or at least how the market is coming down. That will give us a bit more confirmation that the buys could actually work out from that location. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but that's overall the game plan for the Dow Jones. So moving on to the next pair we do have, which is silver. Now, we do know silver really worked out the day before yesterday. Remember, we did end up looking for buying opportunities within these areas, and the buys really did work out quite well. So yesterday, the market seemed to have bounced, or at least is within some particular sort of range. So overall, we're definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities on silver. But you can see right now we're within a seller's area. So we need either a breach to the upside or confirmation that the price is actually going to hold above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities. But otherwise, it does seem like we could potentially be in some sort of range bouncing between these two levels. So if you don't see the price taking off from here and you see the pullback coming in, we wait to see what ends up happening within this particular buyer's area. Remember the timings, 10, 3, and 4:30. But remember, if you are going to be trading that today during the New York session, be wary of the non-farm payroll. Those markets really do spike a lot. You might end up entering a nice trade. The stop loss is there. You could end up just getting stopped out and you find the trade going. What we'd encourage is possibly wait for the news to be released. Once all that mess is done and the market actually starts moving in a particular direction and it's clear, at that point in time, you could potentially end up waiting for a pullback, then looking for your trading opportunity then. But trading when the news is coming out, it does carry a lot of risk. First, the fluctuations in the market. Second, the spreads really do end up increasing within those particular times. So you might end up looking for a buy there. It actually end up entering at a much higher price. So be wary about that as well. So if you're going to trade the non-farm payroll, either enter the trade way before, where now all you're doing is managing your trade or moving your stop loss, or enter after the trade, or at least after the news, so that you're not necessarily in the middle of all that chaos. So I hope that's clear on silver as we move on to our last and fan favorite, which is gold right here. So on gold, similar situation, the buys really did work out. There was a lot of USD weakness that did come in. But now today, we're going to definitely be looking for those buying opportunities. You can see the similar correlation with silver. Right now, we do look as if we are attempting to break this area to the upside. It's not very convincing because remember, this pair has mainly moved during the US session. But we'll wait to see. If the price actually confirms and holds above, then we could end up actually finding some nice buying opportunities then. But you can see, similar situation with silver, the market seems to be in some sort of range. That's being at the top of the range, ranges have a tendency of spiking or probing a lot. So you might find this is just a probe where the price actually is able to come down and find it within the buyer's area within one of the market opening times. But overall, we're definitely still going to look for buys as long as we're holding above the red SNR. So if the price breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area, our buyers will switch and we'll start looking for selling opportunities. But for now, since the price is still holding above, let's wait and see what ends up happening. If the price is actually holding above, then we'll definitely be able to continue looking for these buying opportunities on gold. So I hope that's clear on the game plan of what we're going to be looking at today. So remember, this is our watch list, looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar and the yen, going to mix and match them with everything on the sell side. Be aware we do have some Swiss franc fundamentals. So if there are any changes to the watch list, we will end up informing you on the Telegram channel. But otherwise, I think that is it for now. And also remember, there's non-farm payroll. You can see at 3:30 all these pieces of news that are coming out, even for the Canadian dollar as well. So this is going to bring in a lot of volatility. So by 3:30, do make sure you have either managed your trade or move your stop losses within a proper location. So I guess that's it. Yes, let me see if there are any questions on the Q&A section. So I'm seeing here Alan Bruno. You're saying, hi, Mitch. Thanks a lot. I'm back. I'm happy you're back. Glad to see you here, Alan, as well. We missed you as well. So happy to see that. And hope to see we'll start seeing more of your screenshots coming in as well. So good to hear from you, Alan. So yes, that is it. I'm not seeing much. Seeing here Caroline Chege asking for gold. So on gold, remember the buyers here, we're going to be looking for buys. But right now, since we're within the seller's area, remember it's an area. So if we're even looking at the highest point is there. And you can end up being like, this is not actually being broken. So remember, that's why even though we end up having this particular location, this is not necessarily confirmed that that level has been broken. We wait to actually see what happens, or look at a smaller time frame to get confirmation to actually see if the price actually holding above. If it is, then you could end up finding a buy. If the price comes back in and holds below, then remember the market structure is very important. And right now, since we're within a range, we could end up finding the price actually coming down all the way to the buyer's area, or at least the bottom of the range, and we could find the range working out later on. But overall, definitely looking for those buying opportunities. So I hope that is clear for you, Caroline. So I guess that's it. Now, one quick announcement. Remember, we are going to be doing the AMP. So remember, we have the Amplified Afriforex program where we will be looking and analyzing the markets every single day for a whole month. So if you would want to sit down with John and I every single day for around an hour and a half to 2 hours, where we'll be analyzing the markets, you can ask us any questions. We'll be looking for trading opportunities together. And we'll be teaching as well during that particular time. And obviously, the objective is if we're looking for opportunities, there'll definitely be opportunities to also look for some trades right there. So this is it. Remember, we are giving a major discount right now. It's $279 or 35,000 shillings. So if you are interested, feel free to end up enrolling. The link right there should be in the chat box, or you can end up going to afriforex.com, going to the Academy page, and you should be able to find it. Now, our first session, or at least when we plan on starting, will be actually around the 15th. So in 2 weeks, will be the first session. So we do have a number of people who have already signed up and are very interested in this. So remember, if you do end up having any interest in this, feel free. The slots are coming down quite a bit. Because remember, we don't want to have a big class. We want to have a small class of people where we're actually teaching all these guys and people can be able to ask questions. You know, people have a lot of issues if we're in a big class. If you pass, you passed and you don't necessarily understand, you might not necessarily have that courage to end up asking. But here we'll move at a slow pace, make sure that everyone is together, and we'll end up making money as well, hopefully together as well. So feel free to submit your, your application, and the link right there, I've seen John has managed to put it in the chat box. So I guess that's it from me. Apologies, I guess since today's webinar, there was not much of a review. That's why it ended up ending early. But at least that gives us around 15 minutes to be able to look at the charts, identify what trading opportunities for the London session could end up working out. So let's wait and see what happens on that. So I'm seeing one more question coming in. So Esther Kabiru, glad to see you here, Esther. You're saying, hi, Mitch, would you advise one to get an extra job from trading? Or are you a full-time trader, like another side hustle? Now, one thing I would encourage is that before moving into full-time trading, you need to end up having that consistency, have that trading plan. So you need to be able to first have something that you end up having on the side. Because one thing you need to realize when you are a full-time trader, if that's all you're doing and you end up losing, you know that that will end up affecting you. But if you have something coming in, or at least some money coming in from the side, mentally you're a lot more free, so that where you actually be able to take certain trades, take certain risks. But if you know you only have a certain amount in your account and there's no where any more money is coming from, you might not actually even take some trades because you say, oh, that might not be worth the risk, just to find that the trade works later on. So sometimes it's always best to have that money on the side, or something coming in before moving into full-time trading. Would encourage you to really be making at least some consistent money on the charts. It doesn't need to be a lot, because remember, with trading, it's all about percentages. The big time traders, it's based on the fact that they're trading large amounts. Because if you're trading $100,000, let's say, for example, even if you're trading or risking 0.5% is $500. Or even if you're risking 1%, it's $1,000. So if you get a 1:2 or 1:3 trade, or let's say you take one trade a day, so all your risk is $1,000, and if the target is 1:2, you could potentially be making $2,000 each day, right? So they don't need to over risk and try and put in a lot. So for them, it's mainly they're dealing with percentages, and that's why we'd encourage, as long as your percentages are working and you're consistent with your percentages, don't try and retire off one day, because no one will be able, this whole aspect of flipping a small account, that ends up being very hard because you can be able to do it one day, but will you be able to do it the next day? And with a small account trying to get a lot of money, you're going to have to end up with a lot. So that's why I would advise have something on the side so that you are able to be consistent first. Once you're consistent there, then now transition slowly where you get off from the other side and now focus fully on trading. So that would be my best advice to encourage that, right? I'm seeing you're saying thank you. So karibu sana. I'm glad that I was able to answer that. So I guess that's it for me, and no more questions I'm seeing. So hopefully we'll see you guys on Monday. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend, amazing trading day as well. Happy trading, guys. May the tips be with you. And we'll see you guys on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Cheers, guys. God bless and bye for now.